Captain Ryan Dodson of the 156 Weather Flight, based out of Stanley County, North Carolina. My flight is a geographically separated flight, separated from the 145th Airlift Wing, based in Charlotte, North Carolina. A unique aspect of my flight is that though we are all members of the North Carolina Air National Guard and fall squarely under the 145th Airlift Wing, we in no way support them, except for the random request or two that come down. My flight is an Army support flight with several customers spread around the country, with the two main customers being the 449th Tab and the 30th Heavy Combat Brigade, based out of Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Within my flight, I serve as one of two team leaders for the airmen, and along with my NCOIC, help to guide all the members of the team in training and readiness, as well as support all functions of my flight. My main area of focus has been with the yearly training plan and standard operating procedure revisions. I have been in my flight for just over 16 years. I entered way back in 2002 as an Airman Basic and have had the privilege of experiencing my flight from the lowest ranks and also from some of the highest ranks in my flight. I've had the chance to see the many things that have worked and the very few actions implemented that have failed. Back in 2012, my flight was going through a transitional phase. The turnover rate was higher than what an average weather flight turnover rate should be, with the main transitional portion being the changeover at command. With this, the big change was with our commander. As he was transitioning out, he thought there should be a couple changes made to our rank structure. The way our rank structure was initially set up was if it was two links of chain that were attached at the top, with the commander being the top. I was a team lead paired with another captain acting as a team lead, answering only to our commander. Below the other team lead and myself were our NCOICs, and below the two NCOICs was the next highest enlisted, and the trend went like this until the end of the length. My commander didn't think this worked necessarily, decided to put his stamp on our flight with one big change. First of all, rank structure was completely broken up. All the links of chain were disassembled, everybody was put into one big pot. Next, my commander began to rearrange the structure. Still at the top was the commander. After the commander was the other captain and myself. Then after the two team OICs was the rest of the enlisted. This new plan, instead of looking like two links of chain, looked more like a snowman. Commander was the top circle at the top. Two team leads, or the OICs, were the middle portion, and then the main large portion at the bottom consisted of all the enlisted with no real rank structure. My commander didn't think this. On paper, this seems as though there was no difference between the prior structure and this one, but that would be way off. Issues began quickly. We were all sat down and explained to how the plan was to be worked and reassured there would be no notices or changes in how work was accomplished. Example, instead of going up the chain to get evaluations completed, anyone could handle the evaluation. The issue was getting someone to begin the process and then figuring out who was in the chain to pass evaluations along to be signed. We also ran into issues with awards and decorations. The commander would push down to the officers to complete awards, but due to the poor communication within the flight, awards would be pushed back and no progress would be made. All in all, the leadership style taken by the commander was more of a laissez-faire leadership style with just a splash authoritarian thrown in. No matter how bad we thought the rank structure was, we were required to follow and be happy about having the new rank structure. Shortly before the outgoing commander left, we were required to have a sit-down, both OICs and the incoming commander, with the outgoing commander. He allowed us to voice our concerns over anything we wanted as a way to set the tone right for the incoming commander. Mainly at the top of the issues was this new rank structure. We didn't feel that it helped the cohesiveness of the flight, and it made the process much more confusing and just really stagnated everything altogether. We explained that in no way had the change made the flight better. We were, if anything, worse off than we had been in the beginning before the rank structure was changed. The outgoing commander took our input, as well as the incoming commander, basically just saying that whenever he took over, he was going to change the entire structure back to the way it was, making what was wrong right. Ultimately, our commander made the right decision by changing the ring structure back to the way it was, righting his previous wrong. In the end, all of the trouble that the flight went through could have basically been taken care of if the commander had taken the time to sit down with his OICs and NCOICs to get their input on how the change would affect the flight prior to making the change, but that was not done. So we were left for a year struggling to make sure that everything worked in the flight when ultimately it failed. In the end, he made the right decision and went back and changed it to the way it was. And to this day, everything's fine.